Kentucky basketball put on an offensive clinic in their season-opening victory over the Florida Gators. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Pope's squad is officially back behind the three-point line.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's 106-100 victory over the Florida Gators. Just an insane offensive shootout between two of the best teams in all of college basketball. Going to be breaking it down here on today's show. On the live stream, if you are watching this live, really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not subscribed to the show already, I would love to have you. Please go ahead and do so. Like the stream if you're listening here live, if you're listening postcast, if you're listening on YouTube after the fact, would love to have you subscribe to the show. This has been just an incredible start to Kentucky basketball's first season with Mark Pope. I could not be more excited about what we saw here today on the offensive end of the floor. We needed to see a good shooting performance, and ladies and gentlemen, we absolutely freaking got it. If you have not joined the Locked On Kentucky Discord, it is pinned at the top of my Twitter, at @LanceDawe_. If you want to go find it there, you can also subscribe to, follow along on Twitter, at LockedOnUK, at @LanceDawe_. What an insane performance. Thank you guys so much to everybody joining the live. If you've not liked the video, go ahead and do so. 106-100. Let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so there were a couple of different things that Kentucky was fighting in this game. First and foremost, it was Florida's ability to crash the glass. Offensively, Florida is the second best team in the nation in terms of offensive rebound percentage. They went out today, grabbed 15 offensive boards. They had 31 second chance points, and yet it did not matter because of what Kentucky was doing offensively. We'll get to that later. But the Wildcats fighting the offensive glass in this game, while also fighting what was an interesting game, to say the very least, from this officiating crew. They called the game pretty loosely in the first half. Actually, I would say extremely loose in the first half. Almost nothing was getting called until very late in the first period. You were seeing physicality. You were seeing guys bumping into each other. If I'm not mistaken, you saw Elijah Martin trip towards the end of the first half because Otega Owe bumped him. There was no call on that. And then all of a sudden, you get into the second half, and every single thing is getting called on Kentucky. Every single thing. 20 personal fouls in this game. 20 personal fouls for Kentucky, ended up being 35 free throw attempts for Florida. 22 of 35 from the line were the Gators. If they make 6 more, if they make 7 more, which they could have absolutely done, Florida could have won this game, and yet you see Kentucky pulling out the win. Fighting the offensive glass. Fighting what was just a really weird officiating game, I guess I should say. Not what you want to see from Kentucky in terms of physicality. You saw it get a little better in the second half. You saw them close that first half super strong with a couple of kill shots, actually. If you don't know, Evan Mia, a big-time college basketball analytics channel, he has this metric called kill shots, where if you go on a 10-0 or more run, then you mark it down as a kill shot. And Kentucky had 3 of them in this game. 3 of them, and yet they only won by 6. That just shows you how good of a team that Florida is. You have to give respect to the Gators. You have to get credit to guys like Walter Clayton Jr. and Elijah Martin. Both were absolutely phenomenal today, minus some issues at the charity stripe for those 2 players. Those guys were huge, and that's what we were saying heading into this thing. Could Elijah Martin and Will Clayton Jr., alongside Will Richard, could those guys get you a win without a ton of production from your front court? Florida got production from their front court, absolutely. It just wasn't in the way that you normally expect it. Alex Condon and I believe it's Chinyelu is how you pronounce his last name, number 9 for the Gators. Both those guys combined for 18 total rebounds and 19 points. They were doing insane work down low, just super physical, just a lot of weight behind these guys. This is something that I noted in the preview episode. This team, this Florida team, packs a ton of punch down low, not necessarily in terms of scoring output, but in terms of just muscle. And that was going to be a major issue heading into this game. Amari Williams early on in this one struggled mightily, rebounding the ball. He struggled in the post defensively. He struggled with a couple of different shots offensively as well. And yet him and Brandon Garrison, they were able to battle back. They were able to fight back and play pretty well, I think, overall in this game. If you want to go look at the plus-minus, Amari Williams, -2, Brandon Garrison, +3. We'll get to the plus-minus here later on in the show because it's interesting. It's very interesting how this box score sort of lines up here for the Wildcats. Extremely balanced scoring effort from a crew that ended up shooting, is that correct? 57.8% from the floor. Absolutely insane. Again, just a massive, massive win for Kentucky. The Wildcats, I believe this is now their third quad one win on the season. And we'll get to KenPom here in a little bit whenever those analytics update. But man, Kentucky going out and showing that they can compete with just about anybody in the nation. If they play that game again, you're probably not going to see Florida as dominant on the offensive glass. You probably see the game called a little bit differently. Again, I'm just so baffled by the way that this game was called in the second half, as opposed to the first, because you can only have one or the other. Either it's a really physical game and you call everything, or it's a really physical game and you just call nothing. You cannot have it one way or another, just kind of whenever you please up and down the floor. Giving up off that many offensive rebounds, it'll hurt them in the future. The problem is, looking at their schedule, the problem with that is they play so many teams in the SEC that do such a good job on the offensive glass. Georgia, the next opponent, 10th in the nation in offensive rebound percentage. Mississippi State, right after that, 27th in the nation in offensive rebound percentage. Texas A&M, first in the country. If we see Kentucky just struggle to crash the glass like they did today against Texas A&M, I may jump off of a building. I will not be able to handle A&M's performance in that game if that's just what you're going to see from Kentucky there. So we'll continue to break this down. Kentucky's 106-100 victory. Let's talk about the offensive explosion because, gentlemen, we got some really good performances from some players that have been a little quiet as of late. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a dub. I love betting on players as far as over-unders on whether or not they can score a touchdown, how many yards they'll get, how many points each team will score. It's really fun to go and do that for Kentucky Wildcats in the big leagues. You can visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. All right, continuing along here on the Saturday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. I really appreciate you guys checking out the show today. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. And if you are watching this live stream here, which there's about 80 of you in here, I really appreciate it. Go ahead and like the video if you haven't already. This has been just such a great start to the season for Kentucky basketball. 12-2, 3 quad one wins. You have wins over Duke, Gonzaga, and now Florida. You expect SEC play to be an absolute gauntlet, and yes, Georgia and Mississippi State, it's going to be super, super, super difficult to win those contests here, but you started off hot with a win over Florida. Let's talk here, and you guys can talk about this in the comments below, or comments here on the live chat. I'll try and get to some of the comments that you guys have. I want to kind of take a look here at some of the numbers that Kentucky had. So on Monday, earlier this week, we had our weekly market down segment. I will play this here on the live stream. I love that little sticker. But during market down, which is our weekly segment where I give a hot take for Kentucky for the upcoming games of the week, I said that Kentucky was going to average at least 38.5% from three this week against Brown and Florida. They were going to have at least one hot shooting performance. They needed, heading into the Florida game, to shoot 41.3% or better from three. They ended up shooting 48.3%. So they absolutely crushed that expectation on Mark It Down. So once again, play the little sticker. I was right. I would love for you guys to give your hot takes in the comments below as well if you've got any of them watching post or during the live stream about this Kentucky team. 14 of 29 from beyond the arc. Kentucky has been asking for more volume. That's what Mark Pope has stressed over and over and over again about this Kentucky team getting up more three-point shots. What I have continued to talk about is the efficiency. I wanted to see Kentucky basketball be more efficient shooting the basketball. Because if you go and look at their numbers, only 89th nationally right now in three-point percentage at 35.9% or 35.5%. That's just simply not going to cut it. Yes, I understand that volume can be big for you, but if you're not as good of a rebounding team as Florida, doesn't really matter that much. If you cannot crash the glass, you are going to hurt yourself in the long run. 14 made threes in this game on 29 shots. You want to see more efficiency from this group. And who better to lead the way than Koby Brea off the bench? If you watched the show on Thursday, we had Stephen Peak of Kentucky Sports Radio on to kind of talk about what Kentucky has been and what they could be. We discussed there for a while about Koby Brea and his volume, because he is an insanely efficient three-point shooter. So our argument was that, hey, Koby Brea should be getting more shots. Todd Golden, in his press conference earlier this week previewing this game, literally said, yeah, it would be a shame if somehow Koby Brea got off 8 3-point shots. We just can't have that happen. Well, Brea got off 9, and he made 7 of them in this game. 7 of 9 from 3, 23 points, 8 of 11 from the floor. Brea also had a rebound, no assists, no turnovers, no blocks, no steals, just nothing but pure buckets. Just a straight gunner out there. And we can see, holy freaking cow, Ken Palm is updated, and Kentucky took a plummet defensively. Wow, holy cow. So we'll get to that later. But Koby Brea, just an insane shooting performance. Now up to, I'll actually unwillingly go back to this Ken Palm page. Now shooting 52.3% from beyond the arc. That's good for 13th in the nation. Out of, let's see, 2,294 players. He's the 13th best shooter in Division I college basketball. You have to be able to get this kid more looks. Even when Florida tried to stop him, they could not contain him. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see a really, really hot start. Or hot shooting performance from Koby Brea. Outside of him, you saw some okay three-point shooting performances. Jackson Robinson, 14 points, 5 of 12 from the floor, 2 of 6 from beyond the arc. It's better than what he has been. It's better than the 29, 28% that he's been shooting. 33% is an improvement. Jax, I said, he had to be big on both ends of the floor in this game. And defensively, I thought he was very good. Defensively, I thought he was really, really solid. Just one personal foul, +3 and ± on the box. I think that you need him to really step things up defensively as you continue along here in conference play, because you're going to see a lot of big-bodied wing-type players that can also handle the ball and shoot it. And you're going to have somebody like Jax step out on them when Otega Owe is drawing other assignments as far as guards go. Jax was good. He was very good in this game. Love the energy. Also love the cuts, dude. This Mark Pope offense is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely amazing. The ability to just catch somebody off guard because you overcommit to the three-point line. You have so many different guys cutting to the rim. Lamont, Butler, Jackson Robinson, Otega Owe. You have these bigs here at the top that can just lob it over or throw it in, and you can get a really quick and easy bucket off of it. Speaking of dishing out assists, you had Andrew Carr and Amari Williams both have 3 assists in this game. Brandon Garrison also had, 5 assists in this game. Brandon Garrison also had 3 himself. So that's 13 assists between your front court and just 2 turnovers. Just 2 turnovers. 6 turnovers on the game for Kentucky to 25 assists. That'll win you some ball games, ladies and gentlemen. That will absolutely win you some ball games. If you want to look Over on KenPom, Kentucky now 5th in the nation in adjusted offensive efficiency. They jumped to 36.4% from 3. That is now 65th nationally. First in the nation in turnover percentage on offense, which is really, really good. So they don't turn the ball over. They score effectively. They are an average team rebounding defensively, though. Goodness gracious alive. They dropped from, what was it? They were 58th yesterday. They were 60th when I opened the tab earlier. Dropped to 89th in defensive efficiency here after playing Florida. They do a good job on the glass. They do a good job holding teams to low shooting percentages from outside the arc, but now 51% is what teams are shooting from 2 against Kentucky. That is 181st. That's really, really, really not good. You're going to catch a team in SEC play that does light it up from 3, and that is going to hurt you. By the way, in this game, for Kentucky, I think it's about efficiency. For Florida here, it's about volume, excuse me. For Florida, it's about volume, and it has been all season. I had the stat in the preview episode. Florida against their 4 opponents that are currently ranked inside the top 100 on KenPom. They won all 4 of those games. They hit at least 10 threes in 3 of those games. The only outlier was 8 threes against Wake Forest, which is still a decent amount. And the best they shot across all 4 of those games was 35.7%. Today, they hit 12 threes, so they can put them up, and they can hit them, but just 35.3%. 7 of 17 in the second half, which was impressive. Again, Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton knocking down some big-time shots, a couple of them in desperation, but they still hit them regardless. This is a good Florida team, man. This is a really, really good Florida team. And Kentucky, they take a little bit of a hit analytically in this game. They actually jump up to 18th nationally here after being, I believe, 22nd heading into this game, which is huge. Florida drops 1 spot to 7th. Just a great all-around game. I want to wrap up here by kind of praising some of the other individual performances and then talking with the chat. If you guys have anything that you want to discuss here about Kentucky basketball's win, if you have any questions, any comments, you can absolutely do that here. We'll get to it in just a second. Before I do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Game Time. Attending the new college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories here with the updated format and the extra teams involved. It's been very, very fun so far. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time. If you're like me and you go to all kinds of events, not just sporting events, but comedy, music, theater, you can do all of that over on Game Time. It's really easy to take a look at the deals. They also have all-in pricing up front, so you're not confused about what you're paying for. They've got photos for where your seat's going to be, and it's always even better in person. You can download the Game Time app. You can create an account, and you can use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Kentucky with the live chat. 124 of you in here as we speak. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Really, really excited to get to break this win down for here with you guys. Again, if you've got any comments about what this game was, about looking ahead, any questions, we can take those absolutely as we kind of wind down here. Kentucky statistically in this game on offense was just great. Just really, really good. 57.8% from the floor, 48.3% from beyond the arc, 75% from the charity stripe. You got out-rebounded, obviously, but 25 assists to just 6 turnovers. You had 6 steals of your own in this game. As many steals as you did turnovers. That's really, really good. That'll win you a lot of games, honestly. Also, if you've not liked the video, I'd love for you to do so. 23 points from Koby Brea. You had 14 from Jackson Robinson. How about a cool 19 points from Lamont Butler? Again, off-ball menace. Absolutely insane what Kentucky is able to do when Lamont Butler is thriving off ball. Stephen Peake and I talked about it. We discussed this already, about how dangerous he is off ball, and if you can get Kirk Kriisa back and get him going from 3, that's a dangerous backcourt, man. Dawe, Butler, Kriisa, Brea, All those guys firing on all cylinders. That's a really, really, really good group. 19 points to go along with 8 assists, 2 rebounds, 3 steals for Butler. Just a great, great game from your lead point guard here. He is your guy. He's your dude. 6 of 7 from the line as well. Otega Dawe, as consistent as ever. 16 points, 6 of 10 from the floor. Made his only 3-point attempt, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals, +7 in plus-minus. If you had to guess who led Kentucky in plus-minus today, who would you think it is? Was it Amari? Was it maybe Andrew Carr? Was it Butler himself? No, it was actually Ainsley Almanor who finished +20 despite going 0 of 3. 3 rebounds, an assist, no turnovers, and a steal in 12 minutes of play for Almanor. You make one of those 3-point shots, I mean, you're just insane value off the bench. +20. He was big. Grabbed a couple of big rebounds in this game, I believe towards the end of the first half, actually. Props to him from coming off the bench and playing solid defense, something that he has not been credited for necessarily in the last several games, I should say. B999 says 10-8 would be great conference record this year. Ronnie Barger says every SEC team has to run a gauntlet. 13-5 could absolutely win the conference. Both of those things are absolutely true. Once again, I would strongly encourage you to go watch Thursday's episode with Stephen Peak. We actually discussed, what does 8-10 do for you? What does it do? Well, 8-10 right now, according to Torvik, would give you a 5 seed. 8-10 in the SEC, sub 500 in the SEC would get you a 5 seed right now. By the way, that's if you don't win a game in the SEC tournament. If you win 2 games in the SEC tournament at 8-10, you lose in the conference title game, you are a 4 seed. You are the highest rated 4 seed. According to Torvik, right now, you would almost be on the 3 seed line. That's how valuable this SEC slate is. So many quadrant 1 opportunities, and you got one here today against Georgia, against Mississippi State. Man, that's going to be tough. I mean, Kentucky's just going to be in a dogfight in both those games. They're projected to win at Georgia by 1, and they're projected to lose at Mississippi State by 4. You got to be able to lock in at least one of those. That would be huge, huge to start splitting it on the road. 13-5 could absolutely win this conference. Obviously, Auburn, Tennessee, both those teams are really, really big-time scorers and defenders right now, just extremely dominant. Curious to see how Tennessee continues along here. I'm checking in right now. Arkansas down 20-35 to the Vols here with 3 minutes left in the first half. Yeah, that'll do it to you. That will absolutely do it to you. Okay, let's see. Andrew Carr. A great performance. Struggled a little bit defensively, but 14 points, 4 of 8 from the floor, 2 of 5 from 3. You also had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, no turnovers, and 29 minutes of play. Your front court, man. Front court was so good. Amari, 15, 8, 5, 1 turnover, 1 block. He's been a little turnover prone this season, only 1 turnover to 5 assists. Man, you got such good production all across the board. Dawe, Butler, Robinson, Carr, Williams, Brea, all of them scored in double figures. Travis Perry, 1 of 2 from 3, 7 minutes off the bench. You love to see it there. Brandon Garrison only scored 1 layup and fouled out, but again, he provided a lot on the defensive end of the floor. Big, big, big game for Kentucky, who now improves to 12-2 again, 1-0 in the SEC, and number 18 on KenPom. Ito, the FND, says, Lance Saw, let's keep it real. Nobody should be the top 5 team that is allowed to shoot 32 free throws, but we did go Cats. Again, the officiating in this game was just absolutely abysmal. Or, I'm sorry, not the free throw. The officiating in this game was just absolutely abysmal. It was just simply not good at all. You can't have a half where you call nothing, and you can't have a half where you call everything. It's bad. It's just really, really bad officiating. B999 says, or B999 says, UK's offense was as good as it gets, but the defense has to step up. Yeah, dropping to 89th in defensive efficiency is not promising. It's just not good. You're going to take a hit analytically with SEC play. That's just the reality of it. If you can hold yourself to about 60th, which is where I'd like to see the Cat. If you can hold yourself to about 60th, you've got a really, really good shot. Let's see. Great Kentuckian says, Lance, I've got a hot take prediction here. Oh, mark it down, sticker time. Great Kentuckian says, Kentucky will have 3 more 100-point games in the season, with one being either Vanderbilt or Arkansas. I love that take. I love that take so much. Vanderbilt, a team that plays with a ton of tempo and is not very good defensively. Arkansas, a team that plays with a decent amount of tempo and is good defensively, but has had lapses against some decent shooting teams. Love that take. Absolutely love that. By the way, this is Kentucky's, count them up, this is their 5th 100-point performance of the season. They scored at least 100 against Wright State, Bucknell, Georgia State, Jackson State, and now Florida. 106 is their second best performance offensively of the season. They got 108 against Jackson State. Yeah, I think that you get at least a hundo. Maybe again, you got 2 shots at Vandy, and you got 1 shot at Arkansas, and then you've got a game against South Carolina at home where maybe you could have some magic there. You've got LSU at home as well. Man, a ton of tough games on the road for Kentucky. I'm just now realizing. By the way, Kentucky now enters a stretch of 6 straight Quad 1 games. They will not play anything below a Quad 2 game for the rest of the season. They will only play 4 Quad 1 games. Everything else is Q1. This is where it gets real, ladies and gentlemen. This is where it gets real. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Thank you guys so much for watching on the live stream. If you're listening in the podcast feed, wherever you are tuned in, subscribe to the show. We would love to have you. Dustin says, whoever thought Kentucky would score 100 points against Florida, Florida scoring 100 against Kentucky and still losing. Just a testament to Mark Pope and his ability to coach, man. This is a really, really, really good team with his underneath his coaching, All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at Lance_, and you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Oh, wrong hotkey. Well, any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and God bless.